Elena Moore was a 34-year-old wildlife photographer who had exchanged the noisy chaos of Chicago for the peaceful silence of Vermont's backwoods. After a difficult divorce and the recent loss of her father, she craved solitude. She bought a rustic two-story cabin nestled in the trees of Maple Ridge, far from town. Her closest neighbor was 3 miles away. Her only companion was Boone, a golden retriever she had adopted from a shelter in Boston. He had a long scar down his right side, likely from some abuse in his past. But despite whatever he'd been through, Boone was a gentle soul with kind eyes and a quiet strength. Elena often said he was her anchor, keeping her steady when grief and loneliness threatened to pull her under. They settled into a rhythm. Elena hiked, photographed, wrote her field notes, and Boone followed her like a second shadow. Life was slow, intentional, peaceful, but peace is often the quiet before the storm. It was late August, Vermont's forests lush and green, the days humid, the evenings sharp with the scent of pine and moss. On a Friday evening, the sky grew ominous. Dark clouds rolled in quickly over Maple Ridge. The air felt electric, charged. Elena stood on the porch, camera in hand, trying to photograph the sky when the first bolt of lightning snapped like a whip across the mountains. Then came the thunder. By nightfall, a violent storm had set in. Lightning forked overhead, the wind howled through the trees, and rain hammered the roof like drum beats. Boone paced nervously, ears low, whimpering. Elena turned on the old generator and lit candles in the living room when the power went out. It was just another storm, she told herself. Nothing to fear. Until Boone growled, a deep, rumbling growl she had never heard from him before. The scent came first. Smoke. Faint at first, then stronger. Elena turned to see a wisp of smoke curling up from behind the wooden kitchen wall. Her breath caught in her throat. An old lightning rod on the roof, long since rusted, had failed. A bolt had hit the roof and traveled down into the wiring. Within seconds, the wall behind the stove burst into flames. Elena grabbed a fire extinguisher and tried to douse it, but it wasn't enough. The flames were fast, greedy. The dry wood caught like paper. Smoke filled the cabin. The fire spread from the kitchen to the ceiling beams, crackling like a living, breathing beast. She ran to grab her phone, but the signal was dead. The landline crackled, then went silent. Panic set in. Elena turned toward the front door, but a support beam collapsed in front of it with a crash. The exit was blocked. Heat seared her face. Coughing, dizzy, she turned to the back staircase. Boone was barking now, standing at the bottom of the stairs, tail stiff, eyes wide. She didn't think. She ran. Upstairs was no better. The fire was rising fast. Smoke poured through the vents. Elena choked, trying to stay low, crawling to the guest bedroom with Boone behind her. The window. She flung it open. Cold air rushed in, but they were on the second floor, and the ground below was steep, rocky. No porch roof. No trees to climb down. She had no rope. Her lungs were burning, her eyes tearing. "Boone, go!" she said, pointing out the window. "Jump! Go!" But Boone didn't move. He whined, circling her, refusing to leave. The flames roared down the hallway, closer now. Elena realized she couldn't make the jump alone. Her ankle was twisted from earlier. But if Boone could get down, he might find help. If she stayed, she'd die. Boone barked again, then did something extraordinary. He bit down on the emergency hiking rope from her gear bag, tossed in the corner of the room. Elena, half delirious, helped tie it to the radiator. Boone looked at her, nudged her chest, and then backed out the window onto the ledge. He climbed down the rope, 1 story, roughly 10 feet. He made it, landing hard but running immediately, into the woods, vanishing into the storm. Boone didn't stop running. He tore through the forest, through thick brush and trees, sprinting faster than he ever had. His paws bled from the stones and branches, but he didn't slow. Boone's instincts took over. He knew the woods better than anyone. Every trail Elena had walked with him. Every scent, every turn. He remembered. He headed for the only place he'd seen other humans, the ranger station at the bottom of the ridge. It was nearly 4 miles away, and Boone ran every inch. At the station, Park Ranger Al Cortez was working the overnight shift when a frantic, mud-covered golden retriever burst through the clearing and began barking and scratching at the door like a wild animal. At first, Al thought it was some stray, until he saw the tag. Elena Moore, it read. Boone barked again, and Al saw the desperation in his eyes. Something's wrong, Al muttered, grabbing his radio and his keys. By the time Al and the rescue team reached Elena's cabin, it was a tower of flames. The fire department arrived minutes later. Boone stood barking and pacing, refusing to be held back. Al and the chief fireman kicked down the back door, while the others doused the flames from outside. They found her upstairs, unconscious from smoke inhalation, but alive, thanks to the open window and the fresh air. Her pulse was weak. She was carried out on a stretcher. Boone leapt into the ambulance beside her, refusing to leave. Elena woke in the hospital 3 days later. Her throat burned, her face was bruised, and her ankle was in a cast. But she was alive. When she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Boone, sitting beside her bed, tail thumping gently. "You saved me," she whispered, reaching for him. Tears streamed down her face. Boone laid his head on her chest and closed his eyes. News of Boone's bravery went viral. Reporters called him the dog who beat the flames. A local fire department gave him an honorary firefighter badge. Kids sent him treats from all over the country, but Boone didn't care about the attention. He just wanted Elena to come home. The cabin was gone, but Elena rebuilt. With the help of the community, she designed a new home, this time with proper fire safety, solar panels, and a high-tech weather station. She even published a memoir called Maple Ridge, How My Dog Saved My Life, which became a bestseller. Years passed. Boone grew older, his muzzle grayed, but his spirit never faded. And every evening, without fail, Elena would sit on the new porch, her camera beside her, and Boone at her feet, watching the sunset. Because sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear fur, walk on four legs, and carry with them the fierce, silent love that can outrun fire and save a life.